Zel Boy Army, what is going on? It's your boy Zelonius and my man Ainsley. I'm here today with yet another spicy video. One of the biggest questions I've been getting asked constantly on stream over the last week is, what's the best formation? What are your tactics? What are you finding works best this year? How are you finding the best way to play the games, etc. And I've tried so many tactics, from a lot of the 4-3-3s to the 4-2-3-1, even tried the 4-2-4, tried a 5 back. The only one I haven't really looked at is 3 at the back, but I don't really trust that generally. And then I heard from a couple of people they were liking the 4-1-2-1-2 narrow. I was doing pretty good, had a pretty decent record in rivals, was not a mile off Division 2 but lost a few games. I switched to the narrow, and since then I'm on like a silly 70 game win streak. I think 6-7 of those are in rivals, and then something like 60-65 games in draft. On absolutely crazy form. And before I wanted to share the tactics, I wanted to test it, make sure they work. The defensive tactics I'll show you I think work for pretty much any formation I've found. The attacking tactics are the one that need to be tweaked a bit more. I'm going to show you the dynamic tactics all the way from ultra defensive to ultra attacking, how I play, how I'd recommend you play. I think these tactics work generally for everyone. I've had numerous people from my stream test them, try them out and say that they've worked. No one's come back and said they didn't work for them. So I think they're fairly plug and play, that it's not just a pro needs to use them. I think you guys will be able to use them. They'll be able to make a big difference to your team. And I'll go through each tactic, the instructions, explain why I've done them, and hopefully be able to help you out. This isn't my actual team, my team in game, which I can't, well, I'll show you here actually. It won't let me do the tactics on that team though, because it's not a full team. It's going to be Courtois and net, very solid standard defence for top teams at the moment. Marcelo, Ramos, Varane, Walker. Vieira just being that defensive mid who just holds the ground. De Bruyne, Pogba in the midfield. Then Neymar, Prime Eusebio was my big pickup last night. How much? I paid 3 million. What's he going for at the moment? 3.25, so I'm pretty happy with that. And Mbappe at left strike. I like to have a player on the right who can use their left, and Eusebio's 5-star weak foot, and a left striker who has right foot so they can finesse it to the far corner, because that's very strong at the moment. Okay. We'll go though to this so I can show you the custom tactics that are working a treat for me. Okay. This is the one that I start with. You can't always start with balanced. You might only be able to have 4 depending on if you have to change your formation, game, etc. But if you can, as in you can start 4-1-2-1-2 just from your chemistry. This is the one that I go with. I do pressure on heavy touch. So this one is basically what it says. If the opponent takes a bad touch, you play a spring into action and try and press them. This one for me seems to be a good balance between being pretty proactive and having a high press, but not being so risky when the game's fairly tight that you leave huge gaps. It allows me to press pretty well. My pressing's been very good, I think. And with this depth, a lot of people are saying to use one depth, which sometimes can be useful. But I find if you sit that deep, it's hard to press, get the ball back, plus it invites a lot of pressure onto you. I generally like to have narrow width, because the narrower you are, the harder it is for people to get one-on-ones against you. It doesn't leave as much space in the centre, stops a lot of ping-pong passing. Balanced, I use for everything bar one of the tactics. I just find balance works the best for me. On fast build-up, your players just run up straight away and leave you isolated. Long ball, similar. Possession, doesn't seem to be enough runs. Is there any others? No, that's it, yeah. In the narrow, I think it's key to have high width. The 7 width still means you've still got a lot of options in the middle. It means your players don't get too congested in the middle. They don't spread out too much. So that's been a big difference for me. Using a lot of width has meant that even though my fullbacks, which you'll see in the instruction in a minute, stay back, I've got plenty of options, and my midfield don't feel so close together that I've got no space. I go halfway on the players in box. You want your strikers to be getting in the box, but I also like to be able to have that as an option for cross, but I like to have my midfielders outside the box ready for long shots. And on corners and free kicks, you don't need too many forward for this one. You go a bit more attacking. It's just I put the press up a little higher. The width goes up quite a bit more. I'll only switch to attacking if I'm losing. The width goes up quite a bit more because when you're losing, a lot of people start to try, not necessarily time waste, but keep the ball slowed down a bit, and they'll spread it out to the wings. Having higher width means you've got a lot better chance of being able to press and get the ball back. You up the depth a bit, nothing crazy, but having higher depth means your line pushes up, and with higher width it's a lot easier to get the ball back. The width I keep the same, and the attack. I put the players in the box up quite a bit more. Just the more players in the box, if you're attacking a lot more, the more chance you've got of getting a lucky bounce, having a good option. And the corners and free kicks, same reason. Ultra attacking, I think you don't really need to switch to something like 4-2-4. I think you can play ultra attacking on this and still press properly. Okay, this is like the all out. I've had this before where I've been like 3 goals down a few times on this 70 game win streak. I've been 3 goals down 3 occasions. I've just switched to constant pressure, up the width to nearly the highest, up the depth really high, and you just absolutely swarm them. If you're good at switching and pressing, it is so hard. People just feel suffocated. They can't find any space. It's very risky. If you make a mistake, you'll leave huge gaps. But when you've already pretty much lost the game anyway, it's worth trying this. It's very hard for the opponent to keep the ball with us. I still keep balance because I think it's just the best option in terms of being able to keep the ball, have options, but your men still making runs, etc. I up the width one more, just so, because the fullbacks on this one I put always overlap, so it just gives you a bit more option in terms of that. You're pretty much putting every player in the box as much as you can to get every chance you can. And because it's already nearly game over anyway, you just put corners, free kicks to the max, because the more men you've got in the box, the better chance you've got. The defensive one. So this one I might switch to if I know it's against a really good team, or I go 1-0 up, or it's a very tight game later on. Sometimes in extra time, if they bring on a few subs, I might switch to this, even if it's drawing, so I don't get caught by their subs as much. So same pressing, but a little bit lower width just to be a bit more compact. 1 less depth, so I just sit a bit deeper. Similar on the attack, but just a bit less on corners, free kicks to not get caught on the counter. 1 less players in box. And then for the ultra defensive, this is like the absolute, I'm winning, I'm just trying to see the game out. I switch on this one to the false 9. For this, it's because the false 9 just has a lot more width. When you're trying to see a game out, keep possession, you've got wingers who provide a lot more space. You've got a 3-man midfield for triangles. Defensive mid and a bit more of a compact midfield just makes it a lot easier to defend. I go long ball on this one because I'm literally just trying to sit deep and catch people on the counter. I'm not trying to, if you do balance, more people seem to try to join the attack. 1 player in box, 1 corners, free kicks. You're not trying to score, you're just trying to see the game out. The instructions for this one, I'll put the wingers on, come back on defence and stay wide. When you're in attack, you want the wingers to get in behind and stay wide, so they just offer that out ball. If they stay wide, there's a lot of space out there, but you obviously want them coming back to help defend. The centre forward, I'll put on stay central, stay forward, because I at least want 1 out ball. In my team, this would be Eusebio. I want at least 1 player who I can just knock the ball up to, and he'll hold it up and always be there. You don't want to just keep clearing it and no one get it and just keep giving the ball back. I need to put him on stay back. This is key. This defensive mid I always want on cover centre. The default defensive positions cover is it cover wings? Yeah, I want it on cover centre because I don't want that defensive mid wandering. I want him a rock in the middle of the pitch, holding the ground and stopping people from breaking through the middle. Vieira's amazing for that. I put stay back on the centre mids and cover wings, so they just cover that a bit more. Fullbacks, defenders, obviously, everyone on stay back. Okay, the defensive version of the narrow. Instructions: stay central, getting behind, stay forward on the strikers. I'm not going all out defence at this point. I still want the strikers to give me an out ball. 2 up front just causes problems. The cam, I'll always have on conservative interceptions because I want their energy to be the highest it could possibly. Your cam often is going to be the one springing counter attacks, the link between the midfield and the attack. You want him to have as much stamina as possible because these aren't always the quickest players. If they've got the most stamina as possible, they'll be able to run and cause havoc as much as possible. On this one, I'll just be on basic defence, stay on edge of box, stay back on the left centre mid. For me, this will be KDB. He's got a high defensive work rate. And balanced on the right centre mid, so he still joins in the attack a bit. Obviously, same on the defensive mid. I still want cover wings on the centre mids. I'll always have cover centre on the defensive mid. Stay back on the fullbacks. Another one balanced. This one's very similar to the defensive, but stay forward on the cam because I want 3 men up front just to always be causing problems. balanced on the left centre mid this time, so they're pretty much default on the centre mids, and then same on the rest of them. Some people might go balanced on the fullbacks, but I find it's quite easy to get countered this year if you're trying to press properly and your fullbacks get caught up. A lot of people use very quick wingers, and through balls are quite strong this year. So if you push your fullbacks up at all and you leave any sort of gap, they'll just catch you in behind, and good players are good at exploiting this. The attacking one, quite similar again, but the front three are the same. I leave the midfield the exact same. Like I said, always cover wing, always stay central on the CDM, cover wing on centre mids. This one though, I up the fullbacks to balanced. As you can see, the tactic just is a bit more aggressive, but the balanced fullbacks just offer a bit more going forward. And on the absolute ultra attacking way, like everything, we're just going all out attack. Fullbacks on joining the attack, overlap, so they're staying out wide to give you that width. Vieira's on balanced, and the two centre mids are on get forward, get into the box. It might not give you much build-up play this, but it'll give you a chance of just bombarding the opponent. If you're pressing high and getting the ball high up the pitch, you have lots of men getting forward and causing a lot of chances, hopefully. So boys, hopefully this tactic will work for you. I've experimented a lot with it, I've tweaked it quite a bit, I've tried lots of different formations. For me, this is definitely the strongest formation, strongest set of tactics I've had at the moment. I'll be tweaking it, working around with it. Who knows, if a patch comes it might change slightly. I'll be constantly trying to update it, give you new tactics, new formation ideas. If you like this type of content, boys, please like and subscribe to the channel. I'm putting out content every single weekday. Our bonus today, video on Saturday. Trying to make sure the YouTube content's as good as it can be for you boys. Let me know. Do you like this tactic? Do you disagree with it at all? If you used it, what do you think? What type of content do you want to see? Hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching. Keep it spicy, boys.